All right. So again, I am Beth Herndobler. I am everything I already said. An intuitive, an energy healer, a coach, a counselor. I said I would never teach. I have a family full of teachers. I'm teaching all the time. I said I will never be an energy healer because that is too weird. And here I am. So know that whatever's in you that wants to come out doesn't have to fit the model of what you think you are or where you've been, because from trial lawyer to this, big step. So I'd like to start with a quote that I find very inspirational from Marianne Williamson. Happiness is the choice I make today. It does not rest on my circumstances, but on my frame of mind. I surrender any emotional habits that lead me down the path of unhappiness and pray for guidance in shifting my thoughts. In cultivating the habits of happiness, I smile more often, give praise more often, give thanks more often, and I am glad more often, for such is my choice today. And I can tell you, as a lawyer, that was not always my choice. My choice was not on happy. It was like, that is for fools. And considering that the way I came to be a lawyer was following the plan. I always had a plan. I was 9 years old. I had the flu. And because the doctor said you need to stay home for a week, my family moved our little portable black and white TV into my room. And I got to watch things late at night because I was sleeping in the day. Now, at this time in my life, 9, I wanted to either be a nun, but I was concerned about what that might mean in terms of lifestyle, or an actress. There were no actresses in my family at that time. My sister is now, but she came much, much later. But somehow I knew that if I was going to be an actress, I was going to have a day job. And I did want to be of service. So I'm like, well, even if the acting is service-oriented, I need time for that, and I can't have a day job. That is not going to work. This was my mind working at the age of 9. This part, the left brain, very active. So I'm watching TV late at night, and I see a show called Judd for the Defense. And it's about this Southwestern attorney who wears a cowboy hat and cowboy boots, and he just controls everything, and he always wins, and everybody loves him. And I watched him in the courtroom, and I'm like, oh, that's it. I'll be a trial lawyer. There's only 12 of them. They're in a box. They can't clap, but they can't leave either. I'm going to be a trial lawyer. So I stuck with that plan from then on, and get to the age of 18, and that was the 70s, having a bit too much fun. Found myself pregnant. Oh well, we cannot disrupt the plan. Have the baby, move on, finish college, go to law school. We're doing it. First year. Womp womp. I got to wear a suit. I'm going to be in an office. These people are my people. This is not what I thought. This is not how I wanted to be. Women wore those like bolero ties back then. And my friend, one of the few that I did have some. They were the weirdos though in the class, but this one friend of mine said, if you're not going to wear that tie, what exactly do you think you're going to wear? And that's when it really dropped in, like, this is not what I thought. But I was afraid, and I let that fear stop me. I said, I am $10,000 in debt from this first year of law school, and I've got a degree in history because I love history. But I'm not going to be a teacher, so I'm just going to have to go forward and do this. And it was really hard. I don't care about the law. I never did care about the law. I only want to do the right thing, and that has nothing to do with the practice of law, especially not, I don't know if it does anywhere, but definitely not here in this country. It's about power and it's about money. It's not about helping people. So it was tough. And then what I wanted to do, which was complex tort litigation, medical malpractice and products liability, took a lot of time. I had 60-hour weeks when I was in law school. And the last year, I asked my daughter, who was 7 at the time, 6 maybe, what do you think it's going to be like when I get out of law school? well, we'll have more money. I'm like, bingo, we will. And you'll be around more. I mean, you could just rip my heart out and stomp on it. I can still see her laying in her bed with the moon shining in on her, tears running down my face as I'm like, it's gonna be an 80-hour week. How can I do this? So at the time I was clerking at one of those big personal injury law firms, and I had made a friend of a guy who was a state's attorney, and I went to talk to him the next day and express what was happening. And he said, why don't you go to the state's attorney's office? You can get trial experience, go for 5 or 6 years. It makes you much more marketable. It's how I got here. And I can really hook you up with a good courtroom. You'll get great experience, let your daughter grow up, and take it from there. And I said, they're a bunch of pigs. I can't work for them. And he said, you say I'm a fascist, but we're friends. I think you can do it. There's just one thing. Don't tell them that your daughter is mixed, because they won't help you. So that started all this lies, denial of who I am, and what matters to me was my entry, fear, into the practice of law. So fast forward, I'm 53. Now, one thing that trial lawyers do very well is drink. They really know how to do that, and I was really good at that. And it started leaching over into my, we'd go out after work and I'd come home and keep it up. I'd have that pitcher of Cosmos, good organic stuff in that pitcher of Cosmos. And in the meantime, I had 2 children, 13 years apart, raised both of them. We were in Chicago. I forgot that part. We were in Chicago. And I had raised them that we were always going to live in California in this area. Now, how come they're here? I'm not. My older daughter has twin grandsons who are my heart. Every night I look at their pictures on my coffee table, hoist my glass, kiss them, and go to bed. But it was getting worse and worse. I weighed 45 pounds more than I do now. I was absolutely miserable. My friends took bets on whether I would show up the first day of the month, because that's when we got our sick days. And I usually called in because I hated it and I didn't know what to do. And then one day, after just a little bit too much party for one, I passed out on the couch and woke up in the morning with the TV on and dried tears on my face, and I heard a voice that said, you will not survive if you continue to live like this. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I can't. I don't know what to do. Make a plan. Yes, that always works. Here's the plan. I am really good at fixing other people's lives. I am an excellent wife, even though I'm divorced. I am a very excellent wife, and I'm bringing all this law stuff to it. I'm going to be a high-end personal assistant. I know I'm going to be working for somebody big out there in California. That's what I'm going to do. So I get connected with the woman who is a very high-end personal assistant, works for Rosie O'Donnell and the Pritzkers and people like that, and she puts me in touch with this guy out here. Now, I need to add in, it's 2009. I had a condo. That was part of my plan. We're going to sell the condo. I'm going to have some money to stake me. I'm going to get this job. It's all going to be smooth. This is a great plan. I have skills for this. Call this guy. Well, actually, the guy called me. And I didn't realize till the end that the only reason he called me after my email was he wanted to find the woman who was helping me because he wanted to place her in New York. He didn't care about me because the first thing he said is, why do you want to go to California? It's really, the economy is in the tank. That was right when the real estate market crashed. It was really sinking in. And I told him, my kids, my grandkids, yeah, I got family here, but they drive me nuts. I want to get with my family. He said, all right, you have the passion, but here's the thing. People who had personal assistants last year are personal assistants this year, and it's only going to get worse. I'm about to sell one of my 2 houses because I can't afford it. No one is going to pay me $25,000, at which I gasped. I'm like, who pays $25,000 to get a personal assistant? No one's going to pay me that for a career transplant, and you need to be here. California, everything moves fast, which real estate and jobs, it does. You have to be here. I'm like, I can come the next day. I'll pay No, they won't even consider you. You've got to come here. And since I can't help you and no one can, you need to just come out here and hit Craigslist. The second big womp womp. I'm like, I am 53 years old. The left brain, the egoic mind gearing in. I am a 53-year-old trial attorney. I have been a lawyer for nearly 30 years, and you're telling me to come out there and hit Craigslist? And then I calmed down, and I said, that's all right. I'm going to sell my condo. I have a lot of equity in my condo. I'm going to make some money. No, I am not going to make any money because the condo was a short sale. But the universe was looking out for me because it was never reported. I still have perfect credit. That was the way the universe supported me, not with money, but with that, which I didn't care about at that time because I've changed my life and who cares, but it had, renting an apartment, a house, it's a little challenging if you have a bad credit rating, so I do give thanks for that. And then I just decided it doesn't matter, I'm going. I have to go. I can't do anything else here. I've tried, I've got to get out of here. My big family was making me the center of keeping them together. My sister-in-law, my very dear friend and a naturopath who worked on me every year for 20 years, she said, listen, as much as I hate to see you go, you're my only patient who never gets better. In 20 years, you've never gotten better. You've got to save yourself. So the second time I'm hearing this, and this time from a human being. So I say, okay, I'm going to go. And then my daughter calls and says, you know what, Mom, are you sure this is what you really want to do? Because it's kind of crazy. And I said, I'm absolutely sure. I have to. It's just no choice, no problem. Well, I'm getting a new job, and it's going to be a lot more hours, and we're about done with our nanny. So how would you feel about taking care of the twins, 3-year-old boys? Now, I was not a stay-at-home mother. So all that all-day stuff was really, I said wife. I was a good paid wife. I didn't say I was a good paid mother. But I had this great connection with them, and I was like, sure. Now, my son-in-law and I are kind of like oil and water to a certain extent, so I knew it was going to be a challenge. But, hey, let's do it. So I move out here, and I keep doing everything the same. I've got a plan for the day. I've got a list. I've got 2 3-year-old boys. One we call the Buddha boy, and the other one the accountant, for the most obvious of reasons. The accountant would be in here going around saying, so how do you make your money? Because he's got the right focus. He wants to snowboard, surf, skate, board, you don't say that, skate, and downhill biking. But he wants to live a life where he can have sushi and Korean barbecue. So he's always polling people. How do you make your money, and how much time does it take? And the other one is just like, look at the trees. Oh. So this is what I was dealing with. And this one particular day where I'm like, you guys got to get going or we're not going to make it. I was furious with them. It was probably 7:45. I wanted to hit them. And I keep telling myself, this is not appropriate. These are your grandchildren, and the day has just begun. You're going to have them for another 11 hours. You need to do something with yourself. And I didn't have any skills or tools. Like, I'm going to give you some tools. I didn't have those. I just said, if we don't get going, we're not going to make it. Well, where were we going? We're meeting the neighbor, a stay-at-home mom and her kids. Maybe we're going to a different park. Maybe we're coming here. We didn't have tickets. There was no time. She lived in the front house. I'm in the back. Hey, we gotta get going. Meantime, one's behind the chair like this, throwing his clothes at his brother, who's standing naked on top of my couch with his underwear on his head. And when I told him where we were going, he said, okay, but while we get going, can we look in the dirt? Long driveway with dirt along the side. And I said, why do you want to look in the dirt? And his brother pops his head up and said, because he's a dirty boy. He's always dirty. He still is dirty. He's always dirty because he's always in the dirt. And he leans forward to me, looks me in the eye with his naked body and says, there's treasure in the dirt. And I got my first full body cascade of chills, which I get all the time. I got them in the car grounding before I came in here. I got them working with you guys, doing the swirl and twirl. And I knew. It was like everything else in the room faded, and there was just that little boy's face and me, and I said, why is there treasure in the dirt? Let me show you. So they get dressed really quickly, we go outside, and I don't know what we saw. Nuts and seeds, maybe a bead. I mean, this kid could go to the park and come with a pocket full of treasure, rocks. But it's all treasure. And that act of saying there's treasure in the dirt, and I hear him now saying, are you going to tell that story again? I'm like, yes, because that was my turning point. That was when I realized, without having the words to it, I needed to come into the present moment and get rid of the plan. The plan didn't work. The lists don't work. Even this, I need this for my security. This is my story. Why do I need notes? I went out last night to buy this little portfolio because when I was a lawyer, they said you can only have 2 pages and you don't want to have to shuffle them, put them on a manila folder, attach. So here I've got my intuitive manila folder. It makes me comfortable. It's harmless. Anyway, that moment shifted everything, and I began a very serious, active, advanced study of everything that was all the things I thought that I didn't want to be, like all the woo-woo stuff, the energy stuff. I trained with the Academy for the Intuitive Arts. I listened to every freaking telesummit that ever came on. I read, I practiced, I had partners, I did the work, I changed my diet, I quit drinking, not completely, but mostly. I lost 45 pounds. I started walking every day, and by God, I started talking to trees. Something I never thought I would do. That the Buddha boy was like, they hear you. And all right, let's work on that. That's recent. It's only been in the last couple of years that I can talk to trees. But the point is, what were the things that made the difference for me? Being there, moving from that old paradigm where my entire focus was on the problem, the challenge, not even how to fix it, but just what is it. I knew everything that was wrong in my marriage when it was failing. And one day, as I was talking to a coach that I had at the time, she said, congratulations, you've got the problem very well identified. Now, what are you going to do about it? And that was not something I was equipped for in that personal context. But I did have a good skill from being a lawyer. If you're here and you want to get here, what's the shortest, best way? I knew how to do that. So I began starting to apply that to myself, and then drew in all the stuff that I was learning, that everything is energy. And if you want to have a certain kind of experience, then you've got to bring your attention up off all that negative and bring it to where you want it to be. So if I want to be here speaking with you, I have to visualize that, not like, how is that ever going to happen that I'm going to speak in front of people? Because I don't know how to do that, and my clients are national. No, you just put it out there. I'm speaking in front of real people that are real time, not on a computer, not on a phone, and here I am. If you want to have better health, you cannot focus on what's wrong with you. You have to focus on what it feels like to be well. So again, how do you get from where I was in that old paradigm with all the focus on the wrong to where you are focusing on the experience of that which you don't have yet? It's a little challenging sometimes, because there's like the fine line between make believe and pretend and actually tapping in to that energetic frequency that's where you want to be. And it included things very recently, within the past year, as my business was, because I've only been doing this business for full time for 3 years. And I was at a point where things were coming along, but I needed more. What am I going to do? And I was getting ready to walk out of the house. And right as I put my hand out to reach the door, I heard a voice saying, "But you said you don't care about money." Because when I was little and wanted to be a nun, I said, I don't care about money. When I was a lawyer and I watched everyone motivated by power and money, I said, I don't care about money. I want to help people. I want to make a difference. I want people to be better because of their connection with me. I don't care about money. And the divine said, girl, you need to change that mantra. So I stood there, and it just washed over me. It's happening again. And I am not a singer. I have a singer daughter, but I don't care. I developed this little ditty that for about 2 weeks, everywhere I went out, I am money and money is me. I am free to be wealthy. And that became what I needed to do to shift that vibration. Now, my low vibration about money was well intended. I meant I don't care about money for its own sake, and I don't care about money for power. But what I was putting out was I don't care about money. So in the process of working with all this, I realized there are two things that made all the difference in my shift from where I was to where I am, from that old paradigm of what the problem is, what's wrong, the chaos, the bad. There's enough bad to go around for another million years on this planet, but if you focus on that, you're adding to the problem. And I have this debate with my mother all the time, who is a lapsed energy healer. That's why I said I'm not going to be an energy healer, because my mother is a college professor on the side in the 80s, got an energy healing degree and started doing this weirdo stuff, and I wanted no part of it. But she's lapsed because her focus is on all the wrong, and I understand it's out there, but what are you going to do about it? So I learned that two things, forgiveness and gratitude, that where you put your intention is key, and then putting attention on that intention without any tension at all. No, this has got to happen. Just a relaxed, neutral state applied to the attention you're putting on your intention will open you to a flow state. Now, a flow state is something that's kind of in between consciousness and unconsciousness, when your alpha waves in your brain are activated. And it's where you tap into the frequency of that which you seek, even though it's not already there and you're not really sure you believe it. When I told my stepfather what I was going to do, his eyes, I mean, he looked like I had grown 3 heads. And I had gone really deep into it because I had been on some class right before I told him that he was out here visiting. And I'm like, all this energy stuff. And he's looking, I open my eyes and look at him, and I'm like, it's all right, Dad. Don't worry about it. And he goes, I just want to know one thing, Bethel. Can you make money? Because I sure can't help any more kids. Now, this was 6 years ago. I hadn't even started. I hadn't even thought about making money. I was still in the I don't care about money. But I pulled up my big girl panties and I sucked in a deep breath and I said, some people make a lot of money. I'm going to make a lot of money. You can make a lot of money, and I'm all right, Dad. Everything is fine. And he said, good. Now, that's the last time until about a month ago that we ever talked about what I'm doing, because he'd rather not know. He'd rather I just don't need any money. He was on my list of forgiveness. This guy who came into my life when I was a teenager and was everything to me when, as a teenager, I hated my parents, who's since not been that great savior. But see, that's my problem, right? That's where I have to forgive myself for that expectation, that judgment, that attachment that he was supposed to be something else other than what he is now. So, forgiveness. The best practice I've found is the Ho'oponopono forgiveness and reconciliation prayer. If you're not familiar with it, you can look it up. It's an ancient Hawaiian kahuna tradition, and the foundation of it is the idea that we are all connected. Energy, scientifically, we all have an energy field that's 20 feet around. So if you look around this room, look at how much energy is crossing over. You're all linked up, and there's an M field that's been, a morphogenetic M field that's been created by you guys coming here today to do this wonderful retreat. So there's a lot of energy influences happening everywhere. And if there's something out of order 1,000 miles from here, then it's out of order over here too. And when you do the reconciliation forgiveness prayer, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thanks, I love you, in any order. And I have clients who don't like to say I am sorry, because that's can be viewed as affirming that you are a sorry person. I don't have a problem with it, but if you change the words, it doesn't matter. It works. I've healed relationships with all of my family, my brothers, See, that's why I can have you right there, and I'm cool with you because I've done the work with the Ho'oponopono. I mean, there were times when it was like every waking moment, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thanks, I love you. And if it came to my attention through a man named Dr. Hugh Lin, who is Hawaiian and had taken his daughter to a shaman, a kahuna, after years of searching for a problem to a really bad skin condition that he couldn't find a solution for, not naturally, not medically, not holistically, nothing. So he goes to the shaman, and the guy tells him, you need to do the Ho'oponopono prayer. And then Dr. Len got a job at an institution in Hawaii for the criminally insane. And when he came, it was a relatively small place, maybe a few dozen inmates. Most of them were heavily drugged. A lot of them were shackled. It was a horrible place to work. The employees hated it. It was horrible. And he came in, and for the first 30 days, he went in his office and closed the door, and everybody's talking like, what's this guy doing? He's not even doing anything. He's not running the place. What's going to happen? What he was doing was going in, opening up each inmate's file, flipping through it, and saying, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thanks. I love you. Just still, every time gets me, because after several months, meds are down, shackles are off, people are getting maybe not happy, but more functional and better. And after several years of him working there, obviously over time he did more than the forgiveness prayer, but that was the first layer. They almost closed it. I don't know the status now, but there were so few people there that needed that kind of attention because of the work he was doing, and he expanded it through their prison system, that they almost didn't need it. Well, when I heard that with my background, I was like, I'm trying this thing. And it really does work, because what you'll find, at least for me, the hardest person to forgive is yourself. And unless and until you forgive yourself, because you were always doing the best you could with what you had at the time. Until you forgive yourself, how are you going to feel safe to open that light in you that wants to shine and bring forth this, or whatever your version of this is? You can't if you don't do the work. So I encourage you to incorporate that. I know you're all here for yoga, so you have some sort of daily practice. Consider adding in the forgiveness reconciliation prayer to enhance that. And even extend it to the earth, to the politicians. I mean, this is how you can combat the chaos that's happening, the violence, all the bad things, without sinking down to the level. Visualize light flowing around whatever the object of your forgiveness is, the person, and say it. I'm sorry, please forgive me, thanks, I love you. Powerful stuff. The second thing is gratitude. And it was wonderful to walk in and hear you talking about the way that things that you're grateful for, because we're going to do a little gratitude exercise in a minute. Being grateful is equally as powerful, if not more so, to forgiving everyone and yourself in order to move forward into the truth and light of you, in order to flow in abundance. And to be fully abundant, you've got to be abundant in all areas: mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual, or energetic. We have 4 bodies. They all have to line up. And if they don't, then you're not going to have that abundant experience. So you've got to get it on all levels. And being grateful for everything, especially the bad stuff, that's the hard part. But that's where you learn. So I didn't have my condo to sell to stake me here. That forced me to go deeper into my fear of, I got to make it happen, because if I don't make it happen, it's all going to fall apart. Every time my knee, I tore my meniscus 5 years ago, every time my knee acts up, I have to remember to thank it and be grateful and say, you're alerting me to some dysfunction. Oh, gee, I haven't been to yoga this week. I haven't put the cell renewal cream on, whatever it is. I'm upset. I hold a lot of resistance to forward movement. I was told this by a shaman when I was in my late 20s. You've got so many attachments at your knee, and they're pulling in all different directions. It looks like parents, but it's confusing because there's 3 of them. I'm like, yeah, I have 3 parents. Yeah, they are pulling at my knee. And so it embodied there. Not to mention the high heels, the 70s. I was a dancer. My mother said, you're going to ruin your feet, your knees, your ankles, and your low back. And sure, she was right. I did, but I don't, because I don't claim that. I claim that I can hike and walk, and maybe I'm not going up to the full big waterfall today, but I'm still going to say thank you so much for everything that you're teaching me. Every time I feel an ache or a pain, I thank it. What do you have to tell me? Or, thank you very much. I hear you. I do not need to feel that pain anymore because I get it. I'm going to shift. You don't need to show me anymore. And it's very, very powerful with your body, with your emotions, with the people in your life. Get cut off by a car, don't do this. Say thank you. Even if you don't mean it, you don't have to mean it in the beginning. Smile and say thank you. And then the thoughts come like, oh gee, maybe that person is on their way to the hospital. Maybe they just got fired. You know, it brings you into a state of compassion and more alignment with all that is around you, instead of being locked into a battle where you're trying to get ahead of the person who's trying to get ahead, who's trying to get ahead. When in reality, if we all just took a big deep breath and opened our hearts and shed love, spread love towards each other, everything would be much better. And do you really need to get to yoga 5 minutes faster? The last time I lost it, because I am human, I teach this stuff, but I don't always do it. Mostly I do it. It's a really good life, and I'm happy to go to work every day. This is my work. Thanks for coming. I mean, this is great. It's just that the last time I got really mad and cursed out someone for cutting me off, then I got wonky. I almost caused an accident. I lost 3 parking spaces, one after the other. I always get parking spaces. I'm in the flow. I don't even have to think about it anymore. I get them. But that day, none. And then I left yoga. As I'm in yoga, I'm like, you know, that was really low of you. That was really not a higher choice. You really fell off there. And when I left, I went to the bank, and this woman who was parked in front of me started screaming at me about being parked too close. And I said, have a great day. And she went off again, and I could just feel it. I'm like, I am being assaulted. And right away I knew, I'm like, this is what, not that I deserved it, not that's not the equation. The equation is I dropped low when I got mad and expressed internal, like in my car, my road rage. I went to this low vibration that when that woman saw me, she felt me and she laid into me. That's what happens when you fall out of gratitude. So work on those 2 principles and on trusting that it's okay to be you, whatever that is, whoever you are, whatever's in there that wants to come out. So I was a lawyer, so I could curse with the best of them. So I made lots of money, and I won cases. And one case that really, I'm still proud of that. The Vietnam vet who had an accident. It was a products liability case, and they had bypassed. He was drilling holes underneath freeways to lay cable lines for hotels, and they bypassed the cutoff switch on the horizontal boring auger, which is huge, and it got caught in his pants. He's down in the trench, they can't hear me. All his skin was degloved. He also, in the course of representing him, was someone who was abandoned. He was 5 and his brother was 3, and the parents moved out and left him in the apartment. He'd had this horrible life. And so I go to this, I'm on my 3rd expert, and I'd been a defense attorney, so I had a good reputation. I had a lot of people to pull from, good experts that weren't just hired whores in the vernacular. And I get to the 3rd one because the other 2 said there's nothing here. That's a state-of-the-art piece of equipment. It's their fault for bypassing the cutoff switch. And I slammed my fist down and I said, I don't care if that's true, I am not leaving this room until you find something wrong with this product. And I told him, I was yelling, screaming, this is what this guy's been through. He's a vet. He served our country. And if you ever want to go home, you will find something wrong with this machine because I'm not leaving. And then he looked, and about half an hour later, he said, well, maybe it could have had a better muffler. Bingo. It worked. But that wasn't a way that worked for him. I got him a settlement. He got the money. My boss was happy. We got the money. But I was miserable because that wasn't helping this guy. In the end, some money for an injury like that, for a life like that. And then coming to the end of my career where I really learned that I needed to look at myself differently and to value the innate inner light of me. It occurred in the last few years because I was if you've ever seen the movie Wayne's World, where Garth is getting a suck cut and saying it's sucking my will to live, that's what the practice of law as a trial lawyer was doing, sucking my will to live. So I switched over and I was doing criminal defense appellate work for poor people, and there's no relief. The good news is if they did it, they're not getting out. The bad news is if they didn't, they're not getting out, because why? Our system is built on money and power, and poor people have none. And even if you care, as all my colleagues did, we don't have any power, and the judges don't care. The statistics are terrible, and I had this inner rising come up that I need to do something different here. And we were only allowed one phone call because of budgetary restrictions to call all our clients were locked up. We could only, unless you had a real special reason, you couldn't go visit them. I'm on the phone and I feel my face getting hot. I'm actually now understanding I was getting a download from the universe, but I didn't understand what was happening back then. And I knew that if I was heard by my bosses to be giving personal advice, that I would be in a lot of trouble. So I said, can I talk to you like Beth? Not as your lawyer, just Beth to Earl. Can I talk to you like that? Sure. What are you going to do with this time? Now I'm talking to a guy who's going to do life. Actually, his name was Steven. He's doing a life sentence. He's not getting out. I've just told him you're not getting out. And he shouldn't. He should be there. However, the point is, you're still a human being. It's life. What are you going to do with this time? How are you going to make these days meaningful? Because you're going to live a lot longer. What are you going to do? And I wrote that off so completely. It was like the throwaway, the talking to them like human beings. Well, I've never been locked up. I didn't know that nobody's talking to them like they're human beings. But why? Because I was devaluing my light. So Earl, who actually was innocent and is like a nephew to me now. He got out 4 years ago, did 22 years for a murder he did not commit, absolutely, 100% did not commit. He said, don't you know that the most important thing you ever did, because I was always upset that I couldn't help him. I didn't make any difference in his case. He served his full time and he got out. He said, the best thing anybody ever did for me in my entire life was ask me, what are you going to do with this time, your life? What are you waiting for to live your life? What are you going to do every day that you wake up? You gotta make it count. And even if that means you smile at somebody and you don't get in trouble, then that's enough. But you gotta have a focus on what you want to have your day like. No idea what I was doing. Totally, the only thing I can do is talk to him, and that's ridiculous. But when he told me that 4 years ago, that's when it really started to sink in. I was already training, I was already starting to do this work. I was not yet talking to trees, but things were happening. And when he said that, it washed over me. This is who I always was. All of this is who I was. I just didn't know it. Now, some of you forgot it. Some of you have had it pushed out of you. Don't be like that. Don't think that way. It's not, that's weird. People are going to think you're weird. I mean, that happens with my twins all the time, where the one tells the Buddha boy, you're weird. And they're as close as you would want him to be, but that's still the message. And then he turns around and says, well, I don't have those skills that Quincy has. I don't have that gift. I said, yes, you do, but you deny it. Do you know why you asked me the day that Poppy died? That's my dad. You know why you asked me if I had put him down yet? He had Alzheimer's. He was ready to go. I wanted him to go. We had this conversation over and over. Why can't you put him down? Because that's what my dad wanted. But you can't do that. We couldn't do it. Not for that. And we always talked, it's for animals, it's not for people. Well, that's wrong. So it might sound callous, but it was actually really him tuning in, the accountant tuning in. He walked in my house and brushed past me and said, did you put him down yet? And I said, no, I told you I can't. And he said, well, he needs to go. And I got the call several hours later. So I used that as an example to this little boy who says, I don't have any of that. I said, yes, you do. The other day he said, are you on a diet? I said, no, but I need to get back on one because after vacation I gained a couple of pounds. Why are you asking me? I don't know. You used to be on a diet and I was just thinking about it. So I didn't think about it. I didn't connect the dots. You don't have to get everything all at once. The next day I realized, oh, that was an intuitive message. That was him picking up on my energy. Doesn't matter where it was coming from. It was something that I was thinking about and he was picking up. I need to get back on my diet. And mostly what that means is cut out the crap and eat better. So I used that as an example to him just yesterday and said, you've got it. And he smiled. So I say to each and every one of you, you've got it. You've got it. You've got it. You've definitely got it. You laying there. Everybody's got it. Whatever the it is what you came to be, do, have, and create. And if you allow yourselves to trust your own brilliance, do the Ho'oponopono forgiveness practice, and do an active everyday gratitude practice. Just say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, all day. It'll shift everything and open everything so that you can have the life that you only dreamed of so far. Even if your life is great now, it can always be better. There can always be more. And why not? Why not be happy every day for no reason? Isn't that a better way to be than stuck in the muck? So let's do a little gratitude exercise. You can lay down, you can sit, whatever, you're going to be comfortable. And we're going to do this two ways. One, we're going to think of 3 things that you're grateful for, and then we're going to do the process. And then we're going to think of 3 things that trouble you or challenge you or that you don't like. And then you're going to send the gratitude to that. And what you're going to do is bring in the physical feeling of the gratitude and extend it to the object, the person. It could be you're grateful for this yoga retreat, you're grateful for this beautiful day, it's not so burning hot, that tree is so beautiful. It can be your wife, your husband, anything. It can be the amount of money in your bank, the car you're driving. It doesn't matter what you pick as the 3 things you're grateful for. We'll start with those. You're going to visualize, I'll lead you through it. You're going to visualize sending the physical force of your gratitude to the object of your gratitude, and then you're going to let that object receive it and bring it back to you. So close your eyes. Think of 3 things, big or small, that you're grateful for. Pull the first one in front of you. Imagine it. Now starting in your heart chakra, maybe moving down into your solar plexus, to your sacral below your navel. Send the physical feeling, the vibration and energy of your gratitude towards that first thing you're grateful for. See it receive that physical gratitude. Whatever's happening is exactly right and perfect. Now let that recipient send that gratitude back to you. Feel into the flow. You might even imagine that there's an infinity loop of gratitude flowing between you and this first object of your desire. And now let that go. And we'll move on to the second thing you're grateful for. And again, Send the physical feeling of your gratitude forward towards the object of your gratitude. Let it receive it and flow it back to yourself, visualizing that flow, perhaps that infinity loop. Let that go. Bring in the third thing you're grateful for today. Take a deep breath in. Thank you for reminding me of that. And on the exhale, let everything go that isn't gratitude for this third object, and send it from your heart, your solar plexus, your sacral. Now that it's received it, let it send it back to you, and you receive your gratitude flowing between you and that which you're grateful for. So now, let all that go. Take a deep breath in, and on the exhale, let everything go. And now I want you to think of 3 things that trouble you, challenge you, make you unhappy, cause tension or chaos. They don't have to be the biggest things. You're just doing this for the first time. But 3 things. For me, the fires, that would be the first thing. Whatever it is that's troubling you, think of 3 things. Call the first one in. Now we're going to put this one about 10 feet out in front of you so that you're not really engaging with it on an energetic level. And I want you to send that same physical gratitude to this challenge for whatever its purpose is, for whatever it's bringing to you, for whatever lesson it might be teaching you. Feel this negative thing, receive your gratitude, notice any shifts or changes in what you visualized that negative thing to be, and then receive your gratitude back to you. Let that go. Bring in the second thing that you don't like. Send your gratitude to that second thing. See, feel, sense, and know that it's receiving it, and let it flow back to you. Let that go. Bring in the third thing. Same process. Send your gratitude to this third negative thing. See it, feel it, sense it, receiving your gratitude. Notice any shifts or changes in the energy, the appearance, the texture, the way that negative looks. And then let the gratitude flow back to you. Let that go. Take a deep breath in. On the exhale, let everything go. Place your right hand on your heart and your left hand on your belly, and extend gratitude to yourself for being willing to see what more is possible for you. And then when you're ready, you can just let that go. So know that nothing is ever going to take the place of trusting what is yours to do and then doing it. There's something more longing to come forth through each and every one of you that will never change, no matter how long you live, how old you are. There will always be something more that wants to come through you. And whether you fall down or succeed straight out of the gate, it doesn't matter, because the act of showing up and being willing is going to carry you through no matter what happens. That's what my story illustrates, is that if you show up and are willing to allow out what lies within, it's going to be all right in the end. Because it's important to know that in the act of showing up and shining the truth and light of you, you're going to uncover deep resources, deep wells of inspiration and information that you didn't know lay within you. And what you see as your ceiling today may very well be your floor tomorrow. When my meniscus was tore, I couldn't walk around the block, and I live in Pasadena, it's flat where I live. I couldn't walk around the block, and now I can hike. I couldn't believe that it was ever going to work like that, but it did. So don't limit your belief with stinking thinking. Open to the greater good that wants to come through you and allow that to manifest. And know that along the way I'll be watching. Whether I ever see you again in person or not, I will be watching. I will be sending you light and love and holding space for each of you to find that thing that brings you joy and lights you up. And I am ever eternally grateful for each one of you being willing to do that, because what we need so desperately on this planet is more love and light. So bring it. And thank you.